So this video is going to be a continuation of the video I did recently entitled 13 Rules for Survival in Prepping Groups After the Collapse. And we're going to take a deeper dive into the issues as inspired by some of the comments that were written in that video. So let's get to it. Alright, before we get started, I want to quickly thank the Harvest Right Freeze Drying Company for sponsoring this video. I've done extensive reviews on the product in the past, and they've made some really neat upgrades that I'm going to be showcasing on the channel in the near future. If you want to invest in a machine that's going to allow you to preserve any food for up to 30 years, food that's going to maintain 99% of its nutritional value and have the exact same texture when you rehydrate it, well, go check out the link through the description to learn more about that amazing technology. Hi folks, Canadian Prepper. So as promised, I'm doing a follow-up to the 13 rules for survival in prepping groups after the collapse video. I wanted to discuss some of the excellent comments that were made and give them a forum. So here we go. So the first comment, and these are listed in no particular order, it's how YouTube ranks them in terms of popularity or whatever. The first comment is by OH8STN, also known as Survival Tech Nord, who's going to be a interviewee on the channel in the near future, talking all about survival comms. Go and check out his channel if you haven't already. So I'm going to try to summarize this question because it's a little long for me to just read. Basically, he's saying that there's not going to be a fair and balanced democratic process for people who are integrated into a group. So if you go to a community, like a small town, say, that's already been established and, you know, the relationships run pretty deep, if you're an outsider and you enter that situation, you're going to be treated less fairly than everybody else. It obviously depends on the community that you're entering and how deep those bonds were. Were they pre-collapse bonds? So is this a community that was primarily comprised of people who already knew each other prior to a grid down situation? Because there's going to be a window, I believe, you know, while the S is hitting the you-know-what, that people are going to be lumping together, and that shared traumatic experience is going to create some deep bonds. And I think if people can get in within that window, they're probably going to be more readily accepted than, you know, a collapse scenario goes on 2, 3, 4 months down the road and stragglers start coming into your community. Rightly so, you know, they're going to be approached with caution and maybe not given full privileges until they can prove to themselves that they are trustworthy, right? He talks a bit here about how, you know, there's going to be cliques just like there is in the real world, and it's not going to be some post-collapse utopia where resources are just divvied out fairly. I think, though, under those conditions, most of us have never really been in a situation where, you know, it's us versus the world. And I think if you look at communities like the Hutterites or the Amish, they're able to practice that sort of lifestyle. They're very isolated from the rest of the world. So I think it's within human nature somewhere to have that sort of egalitarian sharing system. Now, there's going to be a comment coming up here that I'm going to comment on egalitarianism and, you know, free market, free man of the land type socio-political divides in a minute, but let's just keep going. All right, so the next comment here is by Japanimated. Honestly, I'm scared. I got no money per provisions, so the only thing I can afford to develop is skills, read books at the local library. Money is tough. Hey, skills, knowledge it weighs nothing. It's never going to serve you wrong so long as you apply the knowledge that you learn, because I can tell you I've absorbed so much information over the years, and if I don't apply it like almost immediately, I forget it. And not even so much I forget it, people will, you know, bring it up in discussion and I'll be able to know what they're talking about, but I won't be able to just apply it. You have to apply everything that you read and learn on. So if you're learning about how to build a self-reliant lifestyle and how to grow certain things, and, you know, I mean, you have to actually go and do it for that knowledge to become firmly embedded in your mind. So I would say that you have a computer. Clearly, you have the internet. You are living in the land of an opportunity. If you are going to the local library, that means you have some mobility. So perhaps looking into getting yourself in a better financial situation while the getting's good is important. It's going to be a huge learning curve for the don't judge crowd if they survive. Yeah, and sometimes people are products of their environment, right? You put that same person in a different environment and they can blossom. So it's hard to say, where everybody's going to end up. There's some people who I think they're going to be the top dogs post collapse, but they got another thing coming. People can't get along now in good times. Bad times, it's going to be dog eat dog. I agree to an extent. I think intra-group dynamics may actually be smoother and better than intergroup dynamics. So what I mean by that is, if you're in tough times and if it's an us versus the world situation, people have an amazing capacity to come together and share as a tribe in those situations. Our tribalism comes out in those situations. But I definitely think that you're right with regards to tribes warring with one another. That's definitely going to be a huge factor. And right now, that's really what the rule of law keeps at bay. It's separating different groups from each other and making sure different groups don't kill each other. Real News Channel, your 2 cents was worth much more than that. Thank you. You made some really excellent points. And for him to say that, that hits me right here, man. Because usually he's pretty critical of the stuff I do. So, hey, thanks a lot. You're right. When things settle down, I don't want to be a part of forced sharing. I won't stick around with any group without the implementation of an individual Bill of Rights. Post-collapse, as a group transitions into rebuilding phase, people need to be able to enjoy the fruits of their own labor, and each person needs to become responsible for themselves. Charity should replace forced rationing and the redistribution of resources. It really depends on how people approach that conclusion. So if 10 people get together and everybody's gung-ho about sharing their resources and making a go at rebuilding, their community, then I don't see a problem with that, and I think that could work. But yeah, if there's an element of force there and somebody wants to do something, is being forced to do something against their will, then obviously it's not going to work out. There's going to be resentments. There's going to be problems down the road. I 100% agree. So it's getting people to see the value in it, though. And there's obviously going to be the problem of people not pulling their own weight in those situations, because you're going to have some people who are incredibly adept at subsistence and self-reliant skills, and who are going to be just doing a lot of work. And this is probably where apprenticeship is going to come in, is because you're going to want the people who don't have those skills to be shadowing the people who do, so that they can quickly acquire some useful skills so that they can become useful in some way, shape, or form. Everybody should be doing something. Even the elderly woman can sew things, or she can just teach. There's an educational role for the younger children. Everybody is capable of doing something which is of value. Now, you're going to have that one guy who works, who does the work of 2 guys. And that really is a choice, too. So, you can't hold everybody to that high of a standard. I know that in trying to make my own business work, that I can't hold everybody to the same standard that I do, because I may want something really bad and other people might not want it as bad. That doesn't mean that, if I'm in one of those communities, I've bought into that community. So there absolutely should be, like he says, from the get-go, there should be a constitution, a Bill of Rights, a Charter of Rights and Freedoms, if you will, for each individual. But at the same time, you need to realize that there's going to be phases. So the initial phase might be one where that sort of communism is needed. I talked about this a bit in the last video where, you know, human societies evolve through different phases. There's the feudal phase, the communistic phase, the free market phase. Before you get to the free market abundance phase, where, you know, prosperity is starting to happen, you have to go through a grinding phase where everybody's working really hard just to survive. And so communism is more survival based, whereas I would say that capitalism is more prosperity based. Both kind of serve a role. Anyways, Daniel St. Martin, I guess you watched Bear's independent video. Actually, no, I didn't. I did watch Ontario Prepper's video, and I watched parts of Reality Survival's video, but I didn't watch Bear Independent's video. I've watched a few of his videos. He kind of reminds me a lot of Pastor Joe Fox, but no, I didn't watch that video. So, and I don't copy people's stuff. I always give credit where credit is due. I try not to watch too much stuff on a topic if I know I'm going to be talking about it, because I don't want it to color what I'm talking about. I don't want it to come off as I'm copying somebody, but inevitably you are, because we all approach the same conclusions in this community, because a lot of it is fairly self-guiding and self-evident reasoning. So it makes sense that, you know, we probably came to a lot of the same conclusions. Bro, I don't understand why it would benefit a skilled worker to teach another the same skill. It would offset the dependency and increase the productivity all around. If I were part of a group, I would want every member to know as much as each other as much as possible. This would ensure security, teaching, not dependency. Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure if the implication is that you think I wouldn't agree with that, but I absolutely agree with that. What you said, though, makes me think of the fact that there might be some people who do want to keep their skills to themselves so that they are viewed as an essential member of the group, and, you know, maybe that affords them more privilege, or maybe that means that they're less likely to be kicked out of the group, or, you know, they're just seen as a more valued asset because their skills are more rare and they're not had by every other person. But yeah, clearly you want apprenticeship in a grid down situation. All right, so up next is the almighty Jamie Hitt. Make sure you go to this guy's channel and harass him with comments to start making videos, because he leaves excellent comments. The guy could write a book about survival and preparedness, and I could make a video on each one of his comments and I'd have content forever. So anyways, rule of law currently functions on several levels. An expectation of prosperity is a prime motivator for most of those levels. Some simply abide by the law, some fear and punishment and consequences. In both cases, expectation of future prosperity is a primary motivator. Too much is at risk to not obey the law. Once the status quo is altered and there is very limited expectation of prosperity, there is a limited motivation to abide by the law. Very little is perceived to be at risk. Those who hope to establish law and order must first establish hope. Give the people a future to protect, and they will give you the authority to protect it. So I think giving people hope for the future is 100% one of the most important things when it comes to group cohesion, especially from a top-down politicking level. You want to give people hope for the future, that what they're doing is meaningful, and that the shit that they're going through at the time is actually, you know, getting them somewhere. If they believe that it's hopeless, then, you know, they're probably not going to be able to make those concessions when things come down to the wire for the betterment of the greater group at large. But right when they see that there is hope, then that gives people motivation to actually care and to want to abide by some collective order that you make. So, excellent comment. All right, Glenn Cook. I have a firm belief people are only nice while they are comfortable. That being said, I'm living in an apartment over the past 3 years. I'm finding most of my neighbors are troublemakers. They have a me mindset. Most are middle-aged or older. I would say I agree with you to a certain extent. I think that there is the best of people that can come out in hard times. And I've been in situations myself where, I've been with other people who become very selfless when the chips are down, and they become very nurturing. I think there's going to be a lot of do-gooders when the crap hits the fan who are going to want to, be the Hollywood hero who saves the woman and her children, and, the white knight thing. There'll be people who are not me, or it's arguable, how much of that is genuine and how much is, like I say, just to be the action figure. But yeah, it's hard to say what's going to happen. Next guy, I grow weed for the neighborhood. Well, that's, that could be a very useful skill, believe it or not. I mean, all jokes aside, there's a lot of medicinal uses for this stuff. Recreational uses for this stuff. Takes the edge off for a lot of people. Personally, I would not want to be intoxicated, especially when, things were getting real raucous all around me. I just think that would ramp my anxiety up way too high. But hey, hemp is good too. Hemp, you can do a lot of stuff with hemp. I'm always amazed at these videos. Read a few diaries and histories of early settlements in the US and Canada to see how it will be, what worked and what didn't. Always trying to figure things out when they just need the memories of people who actually did things. Excellent point. I did a video on the pioneers and the covered wagon video. So I kind of relate to what you're saying. Absolutely. Of course, times are different now. We were spawned from a different socio-political climate, but I think by and large people are probably the same. Lieutenant General, lone wolves are a danger to themselves overall. A true prepper knows a lone wolf is a danger to anyone and everyone overall. Yeah, but there's a lot of lone wolf people who are just introverts. They just don't like being, surrounded by people all the time, and I'm one of those people. I wouldn't consider myself. I think a lot of people just want to be left alone. There's a lot of people who go lone wolf because they don't want to be forced in to somebody else's system of rules. So there's a lot of reasons. A lone wolf is a very broad, sweeping classification that I don't think is... You can't just pigeonhole everybody into one thing. It's a broad spectrum of people who fall into the lone wolf category. All right, King Saladin, I always look forward to you to drop some knowledge. Shows you aren't just talking nonsense, actually studying. Yeah, I mean, I can only talk about things that I'm interested in. So I'm not going to say I'm always right. I'm absolutely not always right. In fact, I'm probably wrong quite often. But I'm interested. I'm enthusiastic about this stuff. If I'm not enthusiastic about something, it's impossible for me to fake enthusiasm. All right, Jamie hit number 2. Rule of law is a foundational function of any equitable societal structure. Both will have collapsed. The first step in reestablishing either is to establish a value-added reason to have it, a reason for people to participate in it, and no attempt will be successful without security for that participation. Absolutely, there must be seen as some kind of reward. If you're saying, okay, these are going to be all the rules, what is to be gained? Well, I think it's obvious that we as a society are going to be able to do so much more and be so much more productive if we can work within the confines of these agreed upon rules and norms. Since forever, one primary hindrance has been unsecure trade routes. Pirates and bandits have plagued our history. Give a population a secure means of commerce and travel, and you have a recipe for recovery, growth, advancement, and prosperity. Rome comes to mind. The Roman roads that they built. That comes to mind. A class of vanguard must emerge, somewhat similar to the old Knights Templar, but without any of the corruption. LOL. I know what you're thinking. Good luck with that, but it can be done. Without it, very little can happen beyond isolated pockets of tentative stability. So I don't think a lot has been talked about with regards to trade routes post-collapse, because seldom in our discussions do we get that far out. That's something which emerges, post 6 months, I would say, when you're starting to get people digging in and people laying roots in their new communities or whatever. So that's definitely something worthy of attention, is trade routes post-collapse. That's a video in itself for sure. But like I say, it'd be very speculative, and we'd definitely have to look at history in order to learn something about that. At 10 minutes, CP says something very interesting about how someone with children will show more group loyalty, while those without will sell out their society when it suits them. That explains so much in Europe. And he lists off a bunch of people who are all apparently childless, and I'm presuming that he's saying that they're selling out their countries or something like that. You know, I just think that when you have kids, you have a vested interest in a village thriving. I mean, if you have no dependents, then, you know, you can run with a gang, you can run with a pack, you can be the marauder without any, you know, consequence or remorse. But if you have people who are dependent on you, it changes you. Not only does it actually chemically change you in that it lowers your testosterone levels, that's been proven. And I'm not saying that just because you have kids you're going to be trustworthy and you're not going to be stealing food from your kids if you're in charge of the food. But I think generally speaking, I'd be more inclined to trust somebody who had kids than somebody who didn't. That, which is not to say that the people who don't have kids can have kids someday, and that they don't have valuable skill sets, and that they can't be trusted at all. I would just know that people who had kids had a vested interest in the community providing security to raise those children. So maybe people disagree. Pregnancy prevention will be difficult for this generation, as medical and pharmaceutical people have relied on will no longer be available. Excellent point. Yeah, we've adapted to that for sure. People will have to learn new methods of pre-1960s, the pill to prevent unwanted pregnancy. There's a video in and of itself that I think probably won't get a lot of attention, but it should. People need to learn the rhythm, method, and restraint. I have no idea what that is, but I should learn. Also, there will no longer be abortion on demand in prenatal care as well. This is a bigger issue than most people think. I just kind of talked about it in passing in the last video. But if you get a woman pregnant, that's going to seriously... I mean, you're already in a crappy situation. Now you're in a crappy situation with a pregnant woman. Then you're in a crappy situation, if you even survive that, with a crying baby, of all things. So, yeah, you're definitely going to want to check your family planning, that's for sure. In today's world of diversity is our strength, we believe we can all get along. However, birds of a feather flock together. So I think having core values in common disaster is what will make the difference post-collapse. Some religions and some cultures just don't mix well. However, the need for mutual protection may bridge some of these differences. Only time will tell, and I'm sure each situation will be unique. Well, I think in North America, we've adapted to share culture, to share religion, and to share a bunch of other feathers, if you will, as opposed to just ethnicity. And that's kind of what the implication is with this comment, is that, or that's so I interpret it, is that people of a different feather, people of different ethnic backgrounds won't be able to work together. I think culture is the prevailing factor there. Culture, socioeconomic status, because if you have a black person and a white person who are brought up in the same neighborhood, and that's a lot different than, a black person who's raised in the inner city and a white person who was raised in the rural community getting along. It's a lot different. The culture is going to trump ethnic differences. That's my opinion of it. I think that, look at all of us talking with one another, black, white, Chinese, whatever. We're all having discussion here. And maybe when times get hard, people are going to gravitate towards likeness. But I can tell you there's a big danger in doing that, because it may actually backfire on you. You may underestimate certain people that you shouldn't underestimate because they look like you. Just something to think about. Rick Christopher, I think in time, as lessons are learned, it's going to be shoot first, ask questions after. Is this sponsored by Trojan? Haha. Walking Dead is a great training show. Your video covers a lot of concepts to ponder. Great video. Thank you. I believe in the concept of military order for survival. Set a command consisting of the important sections of survival, declaring an officer for each, i.e. medical, defense, farming, supplies, maintenance. That's real talk, man. And there's a lot of free men on the land who are going to disagree with that statement, and they're not going to want to have any part of that. So, you know, like he says, survival is not a democracy. It's about rules, organization, and operation of such. The reality is, if you want to function like a well-oiled machine, everybody has to do a job, and everybody has to just humbly do it. This is why the Chinese are so rose to power so quickly, because their people almost view themselves as expendable. Like they do what has to be done. Like those guys who go out and, you know, say what you want about the integrity of the structure. The guys who go out and build a building in a night, you know, like build it into a skyscraper in one day, 24 hours. They just do what they're told, you know. And if you have people who will do what they're told and function like a well-oiled machine without all the flag waving and the tread on me and all that, you're gonna get more stuff done, man. It's just the reality. If you have a bunch of independently minded people doing their own thing, as great as that sounds, and as much as I would want that personally, I just know that conceding some of my personal liberties to the greater good at some point in the evolutionary process is going to be more productive. Now, later on, once you've moved into the era of abundance, yeah, I do believe that the free man method works better, because people can, you know, go and do what they want and invent new things which are going to generate more and more wealth. But I think when times are tough, you almost have to have this militaristic order. And this military order, this is communism, what he's talking about here. I know I just triggered a bunch of people by saying that, but there's a time and a place for everything. And groups like this, if you have 10 people who are operating on this level, and then you have 10 people who are just doing their own thing, and I don't want to share, and, you know, I'm going to do what I want to do, and you're going to get destroyed by a group like this. I can tell you right now. All right, Monica McClellan, I've been trying to figure out different jobs and how many people minimum. I have a negotiation team with 3, security with 11, hunting 3, trapping 3, water and gathering 4, trapping and fishing 3, food 4. Just wondering if there's another yeah, there's a lot of categories. I mean, medical, maintenance, metallurgy. Go watch the video I did. I think it's 13 skills for survival. You've got hunting and you've got food collection covered, bar none. I mean, even just animal husbandry or farming, I don't see that there. So I wonder how autonomous communities like the Amish, for example, would react to SHTF, knowing that the population of some cities could end up rushing toward their resources. Maybe not all. Also, I'm just speculating. Here in Canada, they are not very numerous. We do have Hutterites, and who are very sort of tight-knit communities, but they are also, they're not, you know, obviously they don't exclude themselves from the rest of society. They go and shop at Costco like everybody else. But yeah, it'd be interesting because they're pretty laid back people. It'd be interesting to see how that played out. I live close to a theme park or zoo. I think it would make an incredible compound for a large group, and at least for a little while there's going to be one hell of a source of food. Also, the security already in place is great. Interesting point. Although I don't know Yeah, eating giraffes and lions, that might take some getting used to, but hell, if you're hungry. I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast the other day, and apparently, is it lion or tiger, which tastes really good? I think it's cougar. Cougar tastes really good. Apparently, it tastes like amazing. Not that I would eat one, but I'm just eating predators to me seems wrong. But hey, when things get down to the wire, I'll probably eat anything except people and except Marshall, because I know everybody loves Marshall. And the next comment is, how is Marshall doing? Marshall is doing amazingly well. He's really taken to the new leg. The being only 18 months old really is helping. And we've done everything by the book in terms of administering his medication, taking him for walks, making sure he doesn't overdo it. So I have a feeling they gave him 8 weeks to heal, and I'm going to play it safe up until that time. But he's already walking normal. If it wasn't for the shaved hair on his leg, you probably wouldn't even notice the limp unless you looked really closely. So he's doing great. I love your videos. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Had to pause at 2:36 to comment. Already this short in, and I can say your 2 cents are worth $1. I've seen some other videos you speak of, and as always, your psychological understanding of SHTF means and all the levels are spot on. People have to be careful with rules and how who goes to make them in order for cohesive group, albeit known friends and family, wandering unknowns. There's only but one way to function. I say once again, I'm going to skip ahead I'm going to read this in my own head, skip ahead, and then I'm going to summarize it. All right, he makes a point here about Dunbar's number. It's an anthropological concept. He doesn't actually say that, but that's what he means. He's saying that our tribes would not really fall under 50 people, but will have no more than 200 at a time. The reason is resources and safety. Too few and collapse, too many and misuse of resource and much waste, and probably a lot of crazy politics is going to ensue thereafter. So a guy named Dunbar, I believe, anthropologist, did a bunch of research and found that tribal numbers tend to not exceed 200 people. So it's very likely that if you are going back to pre-industrial, agrarian, agricultural methods of harvesting food from the land, it's likely that you would only be able to support communities of 200 people at the most. And of course, maintaining order beyond that is going to get kind of challenging. So I see what he says. Do not go through life as the aggressor, but only as the defender, and bear no guilt. Words to live by, I suppose. How many people are going to do it? Who knows? Do not force anything against anyone or found in nature. Practice number 2 and complete the 3rd. Well, anyways, man, I appreciate the props that you gave me in the start of the comment, and you make some really great comments. A solitary individual can be a great benefit to a group. We have ourselves to consider, and they need the group for support. Solitary doesn't imply selfishness. Good point. We can and are available for scouting, watch hunting, foraging, and a host of other activities necessary to the group without the family care requirements. We are boundlessly helpful, but maybe not the most social. That's a really good comment. That's a really good point that a lot of people should remind that, yeah, you're not going to have those same commitments, right? So they could do longer shifts. They have no attachments, right? So that's an excellent comment. I have a cool group of people: a mechanic, nurse, retired USMC, United States Marine Corps gunner, sergeant, farmer, and construction worker, and a few other people. Right on, man. Excellent. I'm a woman, but to be honest, I don't think a woman... awesome video, great points, thanks. I'm a woman, but to be honest, I don't think a woman with children should be in charge of rationing food. Mothers do the unthinkable when it comes to their children. They would starve themselves in order to feed their children. It's all by design. You'll get fed once, believe me. Only once, and that'll be your last. I disagree with you 100%. They've actually found that in nature, and it makes biological sense that you would never starve yourself to feed your children. Because think about this. If a polar bear or an animal starve themselves to feed their children, who's going to keep looking after the children? The children's going to die anyways, which is why cannibalism is very common in many species, or just what's it called, infanticide or something like that. It's quite common because the mother can go on to produce more offspring, but the offspring by itself is not going to survive. Now, in terms of you'll only get fed once, yeah, there's going to be some people who are just that dumb, and some women who think that they're going to be able to put one over an entire group. But you'd be pretty stupid to do that, because you'd be out of a community then, and you'd be out on the road surviving by yourself with your kids. It just wouldn't be worth it. Now, that's not to say that the mother wouldn't steal some food or maybe take some extras for their children, but even that is a small price to pay to have somebody who is overall fair and trustworthy when it comes to managing the inventory. I could do this all day, but we only have so much time. I'm certainly not going to get along with other people. I live in Washington. We have a lot of snowflakes here. Oh, I didn't. Does it snow in Washington? I didn't know. Watch out for China. Okay. I'll watch out for China. Clint Carpentier. Mr. Clint hasn't commented in a while. I would not trust pre-fall single mothers. They've ruined 3 lives while life was good. I commented here, there will be those widows, because there will be people who, just because, yeah, there's going to be some crazy single moms out there, crazy single dads. But, he says here, I specified pre-fall single mothers. I guess pre-fall means that they're whatever, that they are not widows. Vetting, interviewing, interrogation will be very important. I agree. Not to toot my own horn, but I did mention doing interviewing in the first video, and I borrowed that from The Walking Dead, where they had in Alexandria, whoever was in charge of that community, the woman there would interview everybody before they came in, because she wanted to get a sense of who they were. So that was cool. All right, Act 609. I truly believe that once fuel goes out, those within a day's travel and back will be most people's world. You won't get to choose which one of your neighbors will survive, and that half-starving, weak, unorganized neighbors around you increases your risk levels. So, absolutely, man. Travel, commuting, transport, within those people who exist within 50 miles of you, that's probably, if you're talking Mad Max, that's the people you're going to see for the rest of your life. This luxury that we have to travel all over the place is one that we're not going to have when the crap hits the fan, that's for sure. Anyways, Act 609, long-time subscriber, I appreciate your comment. In SHTF, that confined Afghanistan Vietnam War area FOB style base, I definitely ensure that everyone of age is weapons trained. Having that senior person, uncombative person, trained with a weapon in a supportive role in a shootout could be beneficial. I'm sure Prepper Potpourri wasn't joking when she said she's a good shot in an emergency on top of what she does. Yeah, she's like that more mature woman in the zombie movies who outlives a lot of the other young bucks, for sure. Brendan Query, hey CP, I don't know if you've read anything from Jack Donovan, but you may find The Way of Men interesting. I'd suggest giving a read if you like it, or find some of the thoughts you might want to check out his other books as well. Okay, I'll check it out. Could you do a video that goes into detail of how to ration in different levels of scarcity? It would be, I used to say scarcity. I don't know why I said scarcity. I guess scare. You don't say scare, because... yeah, or is it scare? I guess it would be scare. I don't know what the roots of ska are. Anyways, would it be better to eat half as much food every day, or to only eat for 1 week, then go 1 week without eating? Well, obviously eating half every day. If you went a week without eating, you would become delirious. You would... actually, a few days without eating, you become more psychologically alert and more aware, and that's something that goes back to when we were hunter-gatherers and we had to really be on the ball. We had to be able to hunt, so if we were starving, our minds would actually improve. But after 3 or 4 days, your body's going to start cannibalizing itself, and you're going to be making very bad decisions at that point in time. So you definitely want to be doing half rations a day, and then at least you're getting some of your nutrient needs met. I would love a video about the Canadian Preppers SHTF laws, the specific laws. Okay, well, that can definitely be something that we do. 2 thumbs up for this video. All right, the comments are getting a little bit more shorter now. I'd be happy to live away from the group and just drop by whenever. Fewer headaches with some community interaction. Best of both worlds. Until you're overrun, I guess. Rule number 1, don't talk about Fight Club. Okay, let's do one more comment. I'm just gonna scroll down here and pick a comment. Renee Brown. For the people who say they can't prep, you can, but you have to make a concerted effort. Even if you can afford, all you can afford to buy is an extra bag of rice or even ramen noodles, that is good. Absolutely. $20 in the United States gets you a big jumbo bag of rice. Please don't think of us built all our stocks in one day. And it's so true. This is taking years and years. Besides, there are skills you can learn for free and will be most useful in a solo or group. The unfortunate thing, though, is that in order to apply any of those skills, you need a medium to do so. So, you know, if a person is broke, it's very likely they're not going to have a garden to put seeds in. It's very likely that they're not going to have the means to go out and learn how to hunt or go into the wilderness even. So you almost really need to get yourself in a position of where you can get some land, or if you have somebody, if you know somebody who, you know, has some land where you can practice this stuff on. But through trial and error, you will find out how to grow your own food, learn medical skills, learn how to fix things. Bear in mind that in SHTF moment, you will not have the power tools you may have now, unless you have your Kodiak Energy power generator. All right, my camera cut out because I've been talking too damn long, so let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm sorry I missed the hundreds of excellent other comments that we're just not going to be able to get through, but you can go and check them out in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out. The best way to support this YouTube channel is to support yourself by gearing up through CanadianPreparedness.com or BugoutRoll.ca. Premium quality gear at the best possible price using the incredibly secure and easy to use Shopify platform. We offer free shipping to the United States for orders over $200 USD and free shipping to Canada over $75. So support the channel by supporting yourself.